Hey, I'm Annette Blankenship with Together Forward Business Coaching. I'm here today to talk to you about your questions. And the one that we have today is why growing a business requires a different way of thinking. And so I've got kind of a little bit of a series going based on why does my business feel so much harder right now? And that's where we're focused today. So today we're going to take a different approach, though. We're going to talk about more about why it requires a different way of thinking. So I gave you in the last video the analogy of the checkers and chess. And like we said before, checkers is a straightforward game. You move one step at a time. Chess was a little bit different. Chess is a whole different ball game to begin with. And so my dad actually was the one that taught me chess. And I don't know that I ever beat him, but I loved playing checkers. But when he opened up the door to chess, I was like, it's kind of like a challenge to beat your dad, right? But I don't think I ever actually did. But when we play checkers, it's one move at a time. And then when we're playing chess, we have to think a lot bigger, right? We have to think about the whole board. There's a lot of blind spots. Sometimes you're thinking about preserving your queen over here. The next thing you know, you're in checkmate. So it's a fun game, but it does require a lot of strategy and it requires a lot of thinking ahead. And so somewhere along the way, when we start our businesses, we're focusing on marketing, sales, and delivery. And that's exactly where we need to focus. And there's a lot of hustle in that, right? Because the more clients you get, the more you have to hustle. And as you grow, you start adding team members on. And when you start adding team members on, now this is where things start to go off the rails. It gets a little bit more chaotic because your team might not do exactly what you want them to do. And there might be cash flow issues. There might be problems with getting delivery done. You might be bottlenecked in delivery. So there's all kinds of stuff that could go on. But the basic thing that's happening is the board looks the same, the squares, the pieces, there are still problems to solve in that first stage of business. But in that next stage of business, not all the pieces move the same, right? We talked about that in the last video. So when we play chess, we're not just moving that one piece. When we move one piece, it creates a consequence. It creates a pattern. And so that pattern can either get us into trouble or that can put us into the advantage position, a competitive advantage. So being able to know how to play the game like a master is what you would want to get to in chess. And it's the same way here. So you want to be able to master this middle stage of business so that you can grow and scale, because until we can stabilize the business, until we can go from getting clients and building a team and then actually having that team stabilize, not just the team, but also your cash flow, we can't really reach for that vision that we have of probably business freedom, of being able to take some time off and let your team run. You can't really have the money that you want if you don't know how to stabilize in this area. And so that's the ripple effects that I'm talking about, because hiring one person could change the role of another. Being able to buy equipment now impacts your cash flow, and you may not always think about it that way. And then taking on new clients creates that delivery pressure. And so it may be time to just level up on who our ideal client is. And so that might help to reduce a lot of friction in your business. It will help you to increase your profitability, and it will help you to decrease that chaos that you might be encountering. And so those short-term problems sometimes that we have going on limit those longer-term opportunities. So for example, if you've got a problem in getting delivery done, you can't seem to get everything through, there could be a lot of reasons for that, but that impacts our long-term being able to continue to make money. So if we don't fix that and we continue to sell and market and sell like a crazy person, and we might be doing a great job at it, we still can't move forward because we don't have that basic problem fixed. And so that's where it requires us to think a little bit bigger in terms of it's not just always about sales. You've probably heard me say that. So again, just like I told you in the last video, you're not doing anything wrong. You're actually in a good place, because that means that you've done some things right. You've actually mastered the art of getting clients. And so now we have to master the art of being a stable business. And so this is where practically we have to start seeing the whole board. And so when we think differently, what that means is that's taking us from reacting. When we react, that means we're firefighting. And so if you're in firefighting mode, that means that there's a lack of something in your business, a lack of what's in your head and getting it out to your team. And so we have to start there. So where are you the bottleneck? So for example, in some businesses that I've worked with previously, they get stuck in that delivery process because now that you've added more people and more complexity, it's just harder to get things through. And then you keep piling up when you've got those extra sales and marketing and all of that's working. It just continues to pile up. And even businesses have had to have failed because that also impacts their cash flow. It also impacts their ability to take off work. So either people burn out or there's all kinds of things that happen or that are impacted when we are in that reactive mode. And so if we stop being reactive and we start just solving that one problem at a time. So what's the biggest problem that I have today? And so think about what is that big problem and get really clear, because that's the key, is getting really clear on what that one problem is. And so you might just want to list out all the problems that are going on in your business today, and then look at each one of them and say, okay, this one is a process problem, or this one is I need a new template, or this one is I need a new hire, or I need a new hire, or I might need to take a look at my cash flow to see if I can have a new hire. And then cash flow also delves into what's my profit and loss say. And so all of these things impact each other and also your ability to stabilize your business. And so that's where being able to be proactive instead of reactive comes into play. And so the ripple effects are what gets you into that trouble. The ripple effects is why it requires a different way of thinking today. And so you've probably thrown a rock, you've seen a picture, I'm sure, when you throw a pebble in there, and they're always talking about how one move that you make for somebody else can turn into the ripple effects. Well, it's the same way with our business. So if we change something about the way that we are getting business in, then that can impact our cash flow for good or bad. It can also impact our team and the way they do things. It can create either more chaos or it can create a better process. And so instead of just running around like a chicken with your head cut off or your hair is on fire, you've heard all these different analogies. It means that we have to stop intentionally. And I know sometimes that's really hard when you're really, really busy, but we have to start solving those problems and we have to learn how to delegate so that other people can run while we're not. And I know that it's hard because there's a lot of things going on at the same time. And that's the nature of where you are in this business. And I said before, it means that you've done something right. But we have to get to the bottom of what's happening. We've got to understand, we've got to start putting these different things in place all at the same time. So it's like, to describe it as we're changing the wheels of a fast moving vehicle, or let's say a train. We're trying to change the wheels on the train as it's blowing by, right? And I know that's exactly how it feels. But being able to back up, and sometimes if we're working 50, 60, 70 hours a week, it's very difficult to do that. But we have to figure out how do we buy back our time? How do we use the time that we have more wisely? How do we not have to have everything as an emergency? Because if everything is an emergency, nothing is. And so hopefully these things have helped you to stop for a minute and think about, how can I actually get some of my time back? How can I start to be able to take 1 to 2 hours out of my week to actually solve these problems, to think proactively, to not continually just be blowing through your day, solving one problem after another. But that's the nature of the business of where we are right now, and that's okay. But we also have to carve out some time, however we need to do that, so that we can see that shift and change and actually get to the vision that you started this business to begin with. And this phase is, you have to have this phase. You can't not go through adolescence, right? And that's kind of what I attributed this to. If you ever read the book E-Myth, he talks about the 3 phases of business. He talks about infancy, he talks about adolescence, and he talks about adulthood. And so the infancy was when we were just trying to get clients and figure out how to walk and talk as a business. And then now we're trying to stabilize. So I attributed that to adolescence. In adolescence, there's a lot going on. There's a lot of questions, a lot of confusion, a lot of problems, because you're developing new skills to be an adult. And then when you do become an adult, that's when you got to grow into a mature adult. But the business is kind of the same way, is that it goes through these phases. It's been proven scientifically. And so just figure out what you can do to carve out some time. And again, if you need help with that, That's what we do at Together Forward. We help you to get your time back. We help you to figure out your financials and understand what kind of money you have, what's on your profit and loss, what's on your balance sheet, how's cash flow doing. We help you to do all those things. We also help you to put into place the team things that you need to have, from AI to processes to systems. How do I use those tools right now? And so being able to put the right tool in the right place at the right time, we help you with that. And then we help you think about the future and where you want to go to help you to grow and scale for that. So I'm Annette Blankenship. This has been a discussion on why growing your business requires a different way of thinking. And I'll put the link in the comments to my Clarity page. And what we do there is we just get on the phone and we just go through your business of what's going on. I give you a 3-phase plan of where we would go next if we were to coach and help you to get where you want to be, and being able to just look at all of that and understand what's happening and what sequence you might need to approach these things. So again, I'm in a Blankenship with Together Forward, and I will see you in the next video.